Everywhere I am is holy ground, for the power and the presence of your spirit makes my path gentle and easy. Gentle, easy, gentle, easy, gentle, easy, gentle, easy. Good morning, everyone.
Gentle and easy. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm Barbara Natalia, President of your Board of Trustees. So please welcome for our music pleasure this morning, Jennifer Lapp. Yay! And Jennifer and Bob are going to be doing something special for us today, right, Bob? Yes. Our message is being delivered by none other than Reverend Gregory. Thank you to Parisi and Jose back in sound. And how about this band, Mel, Bob, Pat, and Merritt? Is there anyone here for the first time today? Oh, don't be shy. This is the only time it gets to be your first time here. No, all the usual suspects. Okay, moving right along. So we have our book of the month. Can we talk to God? Yes, I have him on speed dial. Yes, we can. And Science of Mind magazine. Both of these are available in the bookstore. Can't live without it. Nice. So on Thursday, we had a special occasion. Isn't that right, Dana? We said farewell to dear Tom. And these flowers are from that memorial service. And it reminded me how proud I am to be an American. The service was at Bakersfield National Cemetery, and it was absolutely awesome. It really was. You did such a great tribute to him. And thank you to Jennifer for delivering the message. Fantastic. Just fantastic. So today we have our community meeting. I believe I can smell barbecue. Oh, not yet, but it's coming. Hamburgers, hot dogs, lots of side dishes, and we'll have an opportunity for some discussion. So I hope you're able to stay with us today. And next week, after service, we have a movie, Motion. Motion. Social circles are coming together, and the plan is working just fine. So groups of 6 or 8 people getting together, getting a little better acquainted with our fellow members and associate members at individual houses. So we have a couple of groups going. We're starting a 3rd group. If you haven't taken an opportunity to sign up just yet, on the back table, just put your name in, and we'll get you in one of the next groups being organized. It's really fun to get together. Then we have Jerry Mason. Hi, Jerry. Jerry's organizing a new order of memorial bricks to enhance our walkway into the center. So he's collecting new orders for that. So if you have someone you'd like to commemorate, by all means, see Jerry or fill out the form in the back. And what's happening on April 19th? It's a prosperity workshop. Anybody here want some more prosperity? I think we know where to find it. So Reverend Gregory will be here to conduct that. We're going to hear a little more about that. But again, we need your sign up so we know how many people to plan for. Taizé, April 26th. And on April 29th, Portia is having poetry reading following our service. So lots of things. We have our Sundays all planned in April, don't we? So now let me bring up Liz to be our pulpit practitioner and lead us in our invocation. Thank you, Liz. I pass the baton. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I see the doors are already closed. Would you please silence your phones if you haven't done so already? And we recognize Ann Canet holding prayer vigil this morning, and thank her for that. And after prayer during service, if you would like prayer with a practitioner, we'll be up here in the front. If you just want a little loving prayer or just to say hi. And so now, if you would just please close your eyes and take a deep, deep breath. How sweet it is knowing that, yes, it's beautiful, beautiful God that does make our lives gentle and easy. And we recognize that gorgeous presence in our lives, never failing, always constant, that constant companion that we call Spirit, forever and ever. From the time we are born to the time we make our transition and beyond, Spirit is with us continually. And that oneness is the most sacred thing that we can recognize in our lives. Because just imagine never being lonely, never feeling that you're on your own, because you aren't, because God is right there with you every step of the way. And so recognizing that, we can just relax. We can go down our sacred path and come here to congregate and be with those of like mind. Ernest Holmes had the most wonderful message in knowing that it is the positive, uplifted, wonderful spirit within us that leads the way, that is truly, truly our instructor. And so this beautiful Sunday morning, we celebrate that message of positivity, of love, of joy, of celebration. And that celebration this morning is led by our music, beautiful music that makes our hearts sing, and the message from Reverend Gregory, inspired and totally, totally in tune with that upward message. And so we know that, yes, everywhere we look, we see the face of God, and we are in good company. So let's just relax and just be easy this morning. Be in love. Let's be in love with ourselves. Be in love with the world. Be in love with God. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. And also, we know beyond a shadow of a doubt, we can see our new minister walking through those doors, be it a woman, be it a man, this leader is exactly what we need. And I feel it, I know it, and I want you to vision with me for the perfect minister, the perfect leader of our church. And so it is. Amen. And would you please, on the vision statement, our vision statement, and you can say it with me, we are a God-centered, vision-led, prayer-driven, spiritual community. Simply, we are here for God. And CSL's mission statement, as we read it together, our mission is to create and maintain a sacred place for spiritual practice, celebrating the presence of God in all. Reverend Gregory's talk title today is Recognize Your Infinitude. Is that the word? Okay. And today's reading helps us anchor the talk, How to Change Your Life, from Ernest Holmes. And this is what it says. When Jesus said, I and my Father are one, but my Father is greater than I, he was stating a mathematical proposition. Every person is an incarnation of God, but no single incarnation of God can exhaust the divine nature. Everyone can use the figure 7 to infinity without ever exhausting its possibility. The more divine power we use, the more divine power is placed at our disposal. For there is that which scattereth and yet increases. Not only is every individual an incarnation of God, and therefore a manifestation of Christ, but since each individual is unique and every person has access to God in a personal sense, the Spirit is most certainly personal to each one of us, individually and uniquely personal. We could not ask for a more complete union than this, for the union is absolute, immediate, and dynamic. And so, if you would like to stand to repeat the affirmations after me. I am more than my body. I am more than my circumstances. I am that I am. And so it is. Remain standing for the congregational song, please.
When we let ourselves off the hook, gentle and easy, we free up that energy to love ourselves and love others. I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, that you can start loving me. I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, that you can start loving me. I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, that you can start loving me. I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love much that you can start loving me. And as we go to start greeting one another, yes, on that, as we go to start greeting each other, check out the person. Say hug, handshake.
Well, what's kind of nice is that this is a song that's kind of fitting for today. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk about a couple of really special people here. Nancy Nicholson, will you stand up for a moment, please? I don't think people really know what she does. Every Sunday, when me and the other musicians come here, we see her going up and down the stairs. She's doing this, she's doing that, she's running all over the place. That's just what she does here on Sunday. That doesn't count all the work that she does during the week. And I just wanted to put a special shout out to Nancy for that, because it's all right, little darling. It's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say, it's all right.
I know you're itching to sing along. Just go for it.
Little darling, the smiles returning to their faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say, it's all right. Sun, 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 here it comes. 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 Little darling, the smiles returning to their faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been clear. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say, it's It's all right. Here comes the sun. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun. It's all right. It's all right. Jennifer Lather, everybody.
We're moving to this one. And we'll just put this away then, so it won't be distracting at all. Good morning. Yes, so good to be here, and great to be. It's really an honor to be a minister, and to have as my life's work my spiritual path and my spiritual practice, that when I start meditating in the morning, I'm already at work. I'm working. That's a beautiful thing, and it's really an honor. It's really a sacred honor to have the kind of relationship I get to have with you all and with others on the planet, being a minister and serving in this way. So thank you for being here today, and thank you for we all kind of do this dance together on Sunday. It appears that there are people on the stage and there are people out there, but really we all kind of do this dance, and we all kind of co-create what happens here on Sunday. There's something that I remember a woman when I was a senior minister up in Northern California who said she took copious notes every time I spoke, and one day she said, "By the way, I just want you to know I'm not writing down anything you say." Which was great to bring me back down to earth, She said, "I'm writing down how Spirit speaks to me while you're saying what you say." Right? So we all have something moving in us. We're all co-creating this service, energetically bouncing off of each other. So today's topic, as has been stated, is recognize your infinitude. Recognize how the largeness of your being, that your being is infinite, that you are not small and insignificant. We are not small and insignificant, that our being is infinite. And I was at the bank yesterday here in Bakersfield, and the teller was asking me, "Well, what do you do?" And that's always an interesting question as a minister. I'm like, okay, do I say minister, or do I come up with some other word that will lead to less conversation? But yesterday I said, "I'm a minister." And she said, "Oh, well, where?" And I told her, "Here." And she said, "So, well, what's your talk tomorrow?" And I was looking around to see if she was here, but she's not here. But, it reminded me of this talk of the infinitude, our infinitude and the infinity of our being. Because prior to going to the bank, I was in a deep dive into the Conscious Loving class. We were in the last session of the Conscious Loving class, and I was in a deep dive into the Conscious Loving class. So, the infinity of my being, I was way it would be like you're deep sea diving in the Caribbean somewhere, and while you're down there, someone asks you directions to somewhere in Bakersfield. Like, how do you go from downtown over to the Center for Spiritual Living? And you're in the Caribbean, deep down in the sea, deep down in the ocean, and someone asks you that question. So I had just taken a deep dive into the Conscious Loving class, and then we took a deep dive into some conversation about a pledge program that's coming up. And she asked, "What's your talk tomorrow?" And I just drew a blank, even though I had already worked on it and it was already, fairly well planned. And I just drew a blank. I said, oh, my talk tomorrow. Oh, well, let's see. I stalled for time. I have worked on it, and last night I was working on it, and then eventually it rose to the surface, and I kind of reached out in the infinity of my being. I reached out to that part of my being where I'm preparing a talk. Right? But this is the infinity of our being. We take deep dives into different aspects of our being, or deep reaches out into different aspects of our being. And I don't know if maybe this is just true for me or not, but I think it is true that our beings are infinite. That travel, like those of us that like travel. I love to travel. But a lot of times the real journey is how far we travel on that inward journey, how deep we go, how far we go in our inner world. And sometimes that's the greatest travel we could ever do, is that travel we do on the inner part of our life. So we're talking today about recognizing our infinitude. And there's that question of, there's an exercise sometimes we've done in various workshops and settings where we'll say, who are you? And the person will answer the question, and we'll keep asking the same question over and over again. And you'll be just sitting right in front of another person, and they'll say, who are you? And you'll give an answer, and then they'll say, who are you? And they'll just keep asking that same question back to you again. And what happens is we keep going deeper. At first we say, I'm a parent, I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm, a construction worker, or I'm a nurse, or and then it starts to get deeper and deeper, like I'm a divine expression of God. I'm an infinite expression of the divine. This is what we're talking about here today. Who am I? And so sometimes when we say, I am, sometimes we use the words I am, and we'll say, I am sick. And say, well, no, that's not who you are. You may be experiencing sickness. You may be feeling sick, or you may say, I am tired. You may be feeling tired, but you are not tired. That's a temporary experience. Or you may be sick and tired. You may be feeling sick and tired, but that's not who you are. That's a temporary experience. Who we are is something much deeper, something much more profound. So I would say anything in our answer, when we say who I am, anything that comes after I am would have to be a divine quality. I am peace. I am wholeness. I am divine, the divine in expression. That's who I am. All the rest is just an experience. I'm feeling something. I'm experiencing something. It's not who I am. It's not who you are. It's temporary. It's passing. You're passing through an experience. So we get to remember, like, who I am in the midst of what is going on in the moment. In the moment, we may feel anything but whole, perfect, and complete, right? We may feel less than. We may feel broken. But that's an experience we're having. That's not who we are. It's an experience we're having. So we don't have to identify with it. We don't have to begin to say, this is who I am. We just say, this is an experience I'm having. Let me tell you, though, who I am. I remember my first job in high school and through college, I worked in a supermarket. I was cashier, bagging groceries, that sort of thing. And I remember a man came in one day, and I was in college, and I was telling him my dreams and my visions, what I was going to do. And he said, you're not going to do any of that. Are you kidding me? Right? Because he saw me standing there behind the counter as a cashier and bagging groceries, which in itself would be a just fine place to be as well. But I was telling him all these other things I wanted to do that to him were lofty ideas. And he literally, I wasn't even offended by it because I could see it was his own limitation. But he said, no, you're not going to do any of that. No. Sometimes we get defined by our current experience, what we're currently doing in our job, the current state of our relationship, the current state of our health, the current state of our mental activity, even the current state of our beliefs. Even the current state of our beliefs is not who we are. It's just what we currently believe. That can change in a moment and can change tomorrow. It could change in this service. Who are we? Who are you? Who am I? A much deeper thing than that surface level might indicate. Infinity means expansiveness, boundlessness, endlessness. For some of us, that can be scary. It's such a free, such an expansive, wide open. I remember when I was a kid, I used to look up into the night sky, and it used to frighten me. It used to scare the heck out of me. I would look up into the vastness of the night sky, and it would scare me. It was just so vast. It would seem like it would just suck me in, and I would just get sucked into the night sky. And the same thing with the ocean, especially not in the daytime, but at nighttime. I would look out on the ocean at nighttime. It was so vast. It just felt like if I kept looking, it would just suck me in and I'd be just absorbed into it. But as infinite, as expansive, as boundless, as limitless as our being is, we can also be grounded right here in the now, right here where we are. And then powerfully choose what aspect of the infiniteness of our being do we want to experience right now, and what do we want to step into. Like, do we want to, I was speaking with Jerry Mason this morning, who's graciously hosts me when I come here. I get to stay at his house every time I come here, and we were talking about singing, and I was saying that at one point singing was not something that I would do. And so I went to a karaoke bar, and these people were some serious singers in this karaoke bar. They were just belting out tunes. And my friend and I, we got up there and we started singing, and they kind of lowered the volume a little bit. And eventually, like cut off the song a little early, like, all right, thank you very much. But in the infiniteness of my being is an aspect of me that could access singing in the infiniteness of my being, right? And so I have since then done here and there some singing. I even last year performed in a musical, which was a great stretch for me, and I was highly anxious and highly uncomfortable, and yet when it was over, I was like, oh my God, I just sung in a musical, right? As a non-singer, someone who is not a singer, in that, right? In that limited sense of who I am, right? When I say that. But in the infiniteness of my being, all right, someone believes I'm a singer. Someone said, go on with your bad self and sing. Another time, there is a open mic coming up, so you never know what could happen at this open. I'm going to happen to be in town at the open mic that's coming up, so show up, because who knows? Maybe I'll get up and try to belt out a tune there. But what I'm speaking about is this boundlessness, this limitlessness that is really only. We're really only limited by our present concepts, our present ideas of who we are. When we say I am, how often do we say, oh, that's not me, right? I can't sing. I'm not a singer. I'm not smart. I'm not creative. I'm not this. I'm not that. And yet the truth is, the same mind, the same intelligence, the same creative energy is moving through us, and we are a part of that same infinite field, if you will, as those that we consider who are good at that and who can do that. I remember when I first became a minister, and the people in my congregation said, well, what do you want us to call you? Because, we can be kind of informal in Centers for Spiritual Living. What do you want us to call you? And I said, I want you to call me Reverend, and put my name after it and everything, the whole thing. And about a year later, they were calling me Reverend at every turn, right? Not just in formal settings, but we could be out to lunch. It was Reverend, 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 Reverend. I finally said, you don't have to call me Reverend everywhere we go. And they said, well, you told us to. And I said, yeah, because when I first became a minister, I couldn't believe I was a minister. I needed to hear it. I needed the feedback. Now I know I'm a minister. You don't have to call me that everywhere we go. It's like, how can we reach further out into who we are and define ourselves in a greater way? Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, said, the range of our possibilities at the present time does not extend far beyond the range of our present concepts. The range of our possibilities at the present time does not extend far beyond the range of our present concepts. How we think about ourselves. It's an amazing truth. It's an amazing truth that the moment I begin to extend the concept I have of myself, my whole life begins to expand and my possibilities begin to expand. When I took the foundation class years ago, now over 20 years ago, of Science of Mind, one of the things that really brought me into this philosophy was it wasn't just some principles. I saw the people around me and myself expanding into some greater aspect of who I was. And so there was a woman in my class who talked about she really always wanted to be a singer and she never felt confident and she could never do it. And at the end of the class, there was a time, it was a nice Sunday afternoon, and she was up on a stage belting out a tune. The same woman who said, oh, I didn't think, and she could really sing, actually. And then she actually became an entertainer, like in a large sense, not like on the big screen, but she became the color person for the Sacramento Kings basketball team. So she was the one who would interview all the players afterward and all this sort of thing. And here's this person that was, prior to that, sitting in the small concept of who she was. And just that shifting of the concept, our present mental concepts of who we are. In our infinitude is access to infinite wisdom. We can know whatever it is that we need to know. I had a kind of funny demonstration of that some years ago. I was behind my back, slid a ruler across the floor. And everyone laughed, right? Everyone laughed. And I remember I was so grounded and I was so centered and I was so in my knowing that I simply turned in the direction that it came from, and I just began to walk in that direction. Like, I will know what I need to know when I get there. And suddenly, every kid in that sphere right there, let's just say it was this part of the audience, every kid in that sphere was smiling and like going like, whoa, whoa, what's going to happen? Except for one kid who was kind of shaking like, uh-oh, why is he coming over here? And all the rest of the kids, and finally the whole class said, you're busted. And it was just a beautiful moment of how we can know whatever we need to know. At my house growing up, when I was a teenager, we weren't allowed to have anyone in the house when my parents weren't home. But of course, being teenagers, we would say, well, who's going to know? So we would invite someone in, a friend over to hang out or whatever. We weren't necessarily doing anything, but we would just invite someone in even though we weren't allowed to. And invariably, every time, my mom would come home. She'd be there about 2 seconds. She'd kind of feel into the space, and she'd say, someone's been in here. And we'd say, no one's been here. No, someone's been here. I know someone's been here. And this went on and on. So finally, I decided, okay, when I bring someone in here, I know my mom's got some methods here. We probably, when people come over, they disturb some pillows on the couch, or there's a little part of the rug that comes up and they probably knock that, they probably do something different. So I say, when you come in here, Don't touch any pillows. Don't move anything. It's a real fun time over there. Do not move anything. Do not touch anything. So we did that. And my mom come home and she'd say, who was in here? Every time. A knowing. So as an adult, finally, years and years later, finally one day I remembered to ask my mother, and I said, Mom, how the heck did you know? Did you have a neighbor who was kind of watching out to see if someone was coming here? She said, no neighbor. She said, I came in and I just knew. If I came in and you had someone here and I walked in the door, I just knew. We have access to infinite knowledge, infinite wisdom. Sometimes we say, oh, I'm confused. And I always find myself, maybe this is the bratty part of me, saying, well, why do you choose to be confused? In the infinitude of our being, where we can know whatever we need to know, we can have clarity whenever we need it, we can have the answer to whatever we need to know, why would we choose to be confused? In our infinitude, we have access to infinite creativity. We have the ability to solve any problem that comes our way, any situation. And I sometimes think about how it's so clear that we are going to colonize Mars. We're going to colonize Mars. As a human species, we're going to colonize Mars. We're going to go to Mars, we're going to take people to Mars, and we're going to create another civilization in Mars. Like, this is not a doubtful thing. People talk about this very, in that field and everything, talk about this very matter, like, we're going to do this. Right? Now, Mars, on average, is 300 million miles, no, on average is 140 million miles from Earth. On average, because, everything's moving. The planets are moving. So on average, and the average time, it's 140 million miles from Earth. And even at its closest point, it's about 34 million miles from Earth. Right? And we've put a rover, unmanned spaceship on Mars that drove around and took samples and sent things back. Takes 300 days just to get there at the shortest point. And we've done that, and yet we look at some of the problems here and we go, oh, we don't have a solution to them. Right? Like, I think about the water shortage, right? I don't have the answers. I'm not a scientist. I don't know the answers. But the planet is 97% water, 97% covered with water. And we say, oh, yeah, but only like 3% of that is drinkable water. And we say, okay, well, what about desalination? Like, take the salt out. So, oh, that's hard. We're going to colonize Mars. No doubt about it. We're confident. Probably got a list of hundreds of problems we would have to solve in order to colonize Mars. Someone probably has that list. Right, of hundreds of things, like we'd have to solve this and we'd have to solve this, but no question about it, we're going to go colonize Mars. Like, oh, desalination, oh, that's expensive. Oh, yeah, when you do desalination, you can get the salt out, but then you also take the minerals out. Yeah, keeping those minerals in and taking the salt out and keeping those minerals, that's hard. But we're going to colonize Mars, which is 140 million miles from here, and takes almost a year, takes 10 months just to get there. Sometimes our present concepts really limit us. I don't have the answer to that, but what I do know is in our infinite creativity, we certainly can figure it out. It's interesting how we sometimes compartmentalize our awareness of our infinite creativity. We're going to colonize Mars, but we can't take salt out of water and keep minerals in. I don't know. That doesn't add up to me. In our infinite creativity, we can solve any problem that we need to have. In my ministry, Psalm Seva, we say we can create win-win solutions all the time. We can always create a win-win solution, and it is simply a creativity challenge. People say, oh, I can't do that. How are we going to create win-win? We're going to build a colony on Mars. All I got to do is find out how Dara can get what she wants, I can get what I want, and we'll both be happy, right? On Earth. Just on Earth. I don't even have to do it on Mars, just on Earth. Maybe then on Mars, right? We are infinitely creative. And we have infinite love in our being, and love has been known and said to be the most powerful transformative force and power that there is. That love can heal the body. Love can heal relationships. Love is the most powerful transformative force that there is, and we have infinite access to love. So we can be this healing presence in our families, in our communities, and in our world. And where is our present concept of ourself, of our presence, and the impact of our presence? How often do we have a concept of ourselves as being very small? Well, what can we do? The world's just going to hell in a handbasket. What can we do? So much. So much. If we have access to infinite love, and our presence can be a representation of infinite love, and in that infinite love, love being the most transformative power and presence and force that there is, what if we just reach out further into the infinity of our being and access more of that love and bring it into every place that we go, every situation, every relationship? Yes. Infinite. See, we think of ourselves as separate because, Liz is sitting here, and Scott is sitting there, and Armando's sitting over here, and I'm standing up here, and we think we're all separate, and yet our being is infinite, and therefore we overlap with each other. We're connected. This is just the vessel I'm using. I'm not disconnected from you, and you're not disconnected from me. Our being is infinite. When I extend myself out in love, that touches everyone here and everyone in my sphere, and then I get to define how large my sphere is. I get to define in my mental concept, how big do I choose to be? Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes says, one of the first things to do is to love everybody. If you have not done this, begin to do so at once, he says. There is always more good than bad in people, and seeking the good tends to bring it forth. Love is the greatest healing and drawing power on earth. It is the very reason for our being. And in the Bible, in John 12:32, it says, and if I be lifted up, so draw all people unto me. So what if the world is waiting for you to just be lifted up? What if that is what is needed? Just for you and me and us to be lifted up. For us to extend our awareness of what we know and put into practice the awareness that we are powerful beyond measure. We are creative beyond measure. We have access to love beyond measure. So I close today by just saying that the invitation is to recognize your infinitude. When you use the phrase, I am, remember the power of those words and the truth that needs to follow them, which is a divine quality, that you are the divine in expression, and anything else is a lie. God bless you. Enjoy the journey. Thank you. Thank you. And let's turn within for prayer right now. Let's take that into prayer. The infinitude, our infinitude. And so we just recognize in this moment that one infinite power, presence, intelligence, creativity, and then recognize right after that, I am that. That is who and what I am. I am the infinitude of all the good that there is. The infinity of love, the infinity of power and creativity, of intelligence, of wisdom, of prosperity, of the very substance of prosperity. I am all of that. That is the truth of who I am. And so this day, we let go of the lie. We let go of the idea that we are small. We let go of the idea that we are insignificant. We let go of the idea that we are powerless to change our circumstances or to change the world. We let go of the lie. And we step fully into the awareness, the truth, the practice, the living of the awareness that infinite power resides in me. Infinite creativity resides in me. Infinite intelligence, wisdom, and love reside in me. And we walk this day from that awareness, from that truth, from that embodiment. We anchor ourselves right here today in that awareness, and from that anchored place, we reach out into the infinity of our being, and we begin to live the truth of who we are. So much good comes forth from this realization, from this awareness, from this living of the truth of who we are. Relationships right now, as I speak this word, are being transformed and transmuted. Communities are being lifted up. Areas where there seemed to be a conflict and a stress are beginning to loosen their grip as love begins to have its way. Things that appeared to be problems are starting to not appear to be problems. We're beginning to see the solution. We're beginning to see the opening. We're beginning to see the way forward. Simply by changing our concept that I am not limited. I am not stuck. And so the way begins to open, and we begin to see, and we begin to take the guided steps that our own infinite wisdom begins to guide us. And so we step into and step into and step into that greater yet to be that keeps beckoning us forward. And so I am just so grateful for this awareness, for this truth, and for all the good that is coming forth for each one of us, for our families, for our communities, for our world right now as we say yes to the truth of our being. And in great gratitude, I release this to that immutable law. I know it is done, and I invite you today to anchor it with slightly different words, which we'll say, and so it is, and then we'll say, yes. All right, so let us say together, and so it is, yes. Amen. Jennifer reminded me I was in the infinity of my being, that part that was totally unaware that the ushers are now coming forward. The ushers are coming forward, however, and we reach into the infinity of our purse right now. And we give from that infinity of our awareness. Truly, we give from that place that we are abundant, and we are guided by our heart and by our wisdom as to how much to give, and yet whatever we're giving, we give from that place of, I am abundant, I am rich and prosperous, and what I give is enough, and as I give, it returns back to me multiplied, and so I am just in this flow of divine prosperity. We never give from a place of, oh, I'm not giving enough. No, I am giving plenty. If it's a penny, it is plenty. If it's $1 million, it is plenty. Whatever you're giving all that you have to give right now. And that is enough. Thank you. And the ushers are coming out.
All good, holy, holy. All good, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart and my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy. All love. All love, holy, holy. All love, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart and my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy. All one. All one, holy, holy. All one, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart and my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy. Return to me, return to me, with every breath return, and begin with me, with every breath return. Return to love, return to love, with every breath return, and begin with love, with every breath return. Return to peace, return to peace, with every thought return, and begin with peace, with every thought return. Return to me, return to me, with
Thank you, Jennifer. She's one of those beings that reaches into the infinity of her being, the infinitude of her being. So many ways that this woman reaches into musically, organizationally. She's an educator. She works with youth. So many ways she reaches into the infinitude of her being. You are a walking model of what I was talking about today. Let's give her another hand. And so we extend our hands, and let us just stand, because we're about to close here, and we're about to fan out to the sides in a moment. So let us just stand and recognize that we are blessers. We are walking blessings. And so us extending our hands and our energy and our love to this offering makes a difference. And so we collectively are blessing this offering, sending it forth to bless all those who it touches, and knowing by the law of circulation that it's returning right on back and just expanding and expanding. And so we bless this, we give thanks, and so it is. All right, so don't forget to come to the barbecue community meeting, get your burgers, hot dogs, and all of that, and let us fan out to the sides, and we'll have our closing song.